In the sign up form, so far we have included the input text element for name field with validations. We made the form element to bind with the user object using two-way data binding. We have included 3 validations on the name input text element. The first validation is for mandatory field, second validation for minimum length, and the third validation for accepting only alphabets. Next, we handled validations when the form is submitted. With all these implementations, we have completed the inclusion of name input text field with validations. In this video, we will complete the inclusion of email field in the sign-up form with the inclusion of all necessary validations. I have opened user.ts, app.component.ts, and app.component.html. The first step is to include the email property in the constructor of the user class in user.ts. After the name property, I am including a comma and then in the next line including the email property as public with data type as string. The inclusion of new constructor parameter should reflect in the user object created in app.component.ts. Hence, I am including the second parameter of the constructor as an empty string. I am saving both the files. Next, we will make changes in the HTML template. I am commenting the div tags after the submit button. We will use them later if required. I am going to reuse the coding already done for the name input text element so that we don't have to retype major part of the coding. I am copying the label div tag, then input element div tag, and then error div tag. I am going to paste the content before the submit button. I am including some empty lines in between so that we can clearly recognize the separation of code between name and email fields. I am changing name label to email. Then changing the input element name attribute as email. In the ng model, it is going to be user.email. I am changing the template reference variable from name field to email field. We are not going to have min length validation, hence I am removing the min length attribute. The pattern attribute needs to be modified with regular expression that checks for email. I am clearing the current regular expression for alphabets and space. Let me now include the regular expression for email. First, including the caret symbol to denote the beginning of string. Then including open and close square brackets. Within this, I am going to include what characters are allowed before the @ symbol of the email. I am going to allow alphabets A to Z, then numbers 0 to 9, then special characters dot, underscore, percentage, plus, and then hyphen. Then including plus at after the square brackets to indicate the @ character that should be present in the middle of the email. Then including square brackets to denote what comes after the @ symbol of email. Here we will check for alphabets A to Z, then numbers 0 to 9, then special characters dot and hyphen. Then after the closing brackets including plus backslash dot to mandate the inclusion of dot after @ symbol of an email. After the dot, I am including square brackets to check for alphabets A to Z having length of 2 to 3 characters by including 2 and 3 separated by comma within curly braces. This is for COM or CO or country code that will be included in the end of an email. Finally, including $ symbol in the regular expression to denote the end of the string. With this, we are completing the regular expression for email. In the ng class, I am changing name field to email field. I am copying email field and going to replace name field in the ngif directive of error div tag. Then changing name field to email field in the div tag of mandatory field error message and pattern error message. Then in the mandatory field error message, changing name to email. For pattern error message, I am clearing the current message and including invalid email as the message. We are not going to have min length validation, hence removing the div tag that displays minimum length validation message. With these changes, the inclusion of email field and its validation is completed. I am saving the file. After the page reload, we can see the email field included. I am clicking within the email field and leaving the field without entering any data. We can see the mandatory field error message displayed. As I type the email, we can see that invalid email error message is shown. Once I complete the field with proper email, we can see the error message disappeared. Let me test one more scenario. I am refreshing the page, then directly clicking on the submit button. We can see the validation error messages shown for both name and email fields. With these changes, we have successfully completed the inclusion of email field and its validations. Go through this video again to implement whatever changes I have made one by one and finally verify if email field is included and validations are working.